Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Shoshana Chaim. I have been in the health world for over 20 years, more specifically helping people really work on their health and their healing for the last 10 years. And that started because of a situation that my husband was having with his own health. And it really got us looking into how do we take charge of our own health? How do we start making decisions for ourselves? And why are things happening to our bodies when they might not run in the family or where it's starting younger and younger? So that really got us down the path of what's going on in this holistic world. Today, I'm going to share with you my own story of redox. Then I'm going to explain a little bit about what redox is and why it is so powerful. You'll hear from a couple of other people as well. And hopefully it will give you an overall sense of being able to use lifestyle and make your own decisions to impact your own health. So how many of you are ready to start taking control of your own health? Or how many of you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, or have really tried everything, maybe with conventional or non-conventional doctors, and still aren't getting the results that you want to be getting? Because that's exactly where I was just over 6 years ago. I was a nutritionist. I was helping people heal in all kinds of wonderful ways. But then I found myself in a really, really hard position where I had some serious inflammation in the wrist and in the elbow, but I was unable to feel my arm in between. My brain fog kept getting worse and worse. I was lethargic, and my hormone tests kept coming back irregular. So I was having some major serious irregularities. And over time, I had used 3 different naturopaths. I had gone to a chiropractor, osteopaths, acupuncture. I had done Chinese medicine. I've taken all the tinctures. I went to my regular doctors as well. And nobody was able to do anything that was able to help me. And over that course of the year, I ended up sleeping almost 18 hours a day by the end. My kids were late for school every day. I couldn't even read a sentence. I had to read that same sentence over and over again to get any information from it. Falling asleep at the wheel. I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to parent. I wasn't able to be partner to my husband. I was just doing everything I could to feed my family and keep myself alive. And it was absolutely horrible. And it wasn't until a friend of my husband's had the courage to say to him, I know of this product. I know what you do in your business. Your athletes will do better. Your people with autoimmune diseases or hormone dysfunction, or people will just feel better. Their bodies will begin to heal themselves. You really need to look into this. And that's when it clicked. There must be something outside of what I already knew that could help me. And maybe this is the missing key. So I went and I listened to a presentation a little bit similar to what you're going to hear today. And what I understood is that the body is based on communication. And without communication, our body can't exist. Without certain systems in our body cannot exist. And I said, communication. I'm eating all these good foods. I'm meditating. I'm doing all the things. Maybe my body's not communicating. Maybe my body's not absorbing it. I heard that it was 100% non-toxic, couldn't interact with medications, and that Olympic athletes were even allowed to take it. It's not doping, and it's on that very short list of what athletes are allowed to take, which I found impressive, being an athlete myself. So I said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I deserve more. My family deserves more. And what do I have to lose? I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. And they said, it's going to take 90 to 120 days to really see a significant difference. That's how long it takes for 90 people, for 90% of people. And what I noticed within the first 2 months, I was going back to the naturopath again for some marker tests. And I started to take account of everything that was going on in my body. And I couldn't remember the last time I'd asked my husband to massage my arm. And I realized that the kids were getting to school on time. So although it was nothing huge that flashed before my face on a daily basis, when I went back and when I took stock of what was happening, I realized that I was making significant difference. And then well within the first, so that was within the first, let's say 2 months. And then right at the end of 2 months. And then within the 6 to 8 month mark, cystic acne and scarring started going away. My hair stopped turning gray because my body was just functioning so much better. I was working out at my peak, where I was working out at a place where they really, really push you, and my body was changing and I felt amazing. So giving it the time to do what it meant to do was really powerful for me, for my family. And then I realized that if I didn't tell other people about this, I'm living a lie every day. So I'll tell you a little bit about what this is, and then you'll hear from some of the people who I've been privileged to help along the way. Here we go. So we're going to talk about powering our body's ultimate health and youthful potential. We know that kids have tight skin, have energy. We know that children tend to bounce back from little things that happen a lot faster than older people tend to do. You don't normally see an old man jumping rope like this. But how do we get our bodies to move backwards? How do we get our bodies to be the age that we feel in here instead of old and decrepit like a lot of us are starting to feel as we get older? And we're going to talk about that. So what's responsible for our energy system, what's responsible for all of our body to work and all of our cells to even be alive is redox molecules. We know that our body is more than 70% of water. We know that salt or sodium is important, not the sodium that we're putting on our French fries, but the sodium chloride that's already in our body and in some of the healthy foods that we eat. And our body needs that because our cells are little sacs of water. And for them to be able to communicate, they need to make these redox signaling molecules inside of the mitochondria. The mitochondria are millions and millions of little factories in our body that's making our energy and our redox and all of that. And the redox's job is to communicate, right? When there's something wrong in the body, it sends up a signal, and its job is to detect the damaged cells, repair the ones that could be repaired, and for the ones that need to be replaced, they kill them off. They're supposed to be detoxed out of the body, and we're constantly duplicating other cells, and we want to be able to duplicate the best ones possible. So when something's wrong in the body, it needs to be fixed, whether it's fighting free radicals, attacking bacteria, problems with our immune system. Our antioxidants are controlled by these redox. Why haven't you heard of redox signaling molecules? Well, maybe you have, but between 1923 and 1998, only 24% of all redox signaling studies were done. And then in 1998, there was a Nobel Peace Prize, the first of 5 to be given out to understanding more about what this redox is doing in our body. And 76% of all of the research was done after 1998 between now, and more and more and more is coming out more recently. There's over 1,200 books on redox biochemistry. There's over 22,000 peer-reviewed published articles. And we're talking about in PubMed, articles in Google Scholar, in scholarly journals, not blogs that are being written on Google. It's really important to understand where to do your research, and looking up redox signaling on PubMed is definitely the way to go. So again, what are these redox molecules? Well, they're tiny little molecules that are being made inside the cell, and they're able to go in and out of the cell to create signaling that create an on-off switch, and it cascades through the whole body, and it creates resilience to stress. And this resilience to stress is what happens before the inflammation. This resilience to stress is what happens before an organ starts to shut down. So if there's imbalance in the body, signals go up, the cascading effect happens, the right healing goes to the right place. When it's done healing, it turns off and it stops, and the body is then in balance. And we're talking about the immune system, the cardiovascular system, the hormone system, digestion, inflammation, brain health, the body's ability to create new tissues, collagen, cartilage, the reproduction of organs, the organ's ability to work, even our skin, everything. So there was over 20 years of research, multiple patents, millions of dollars put in to being able to create these redox signaling molecules outside the body. And there are universities all across North America, Europe, Australia that are recreating them. But there's been one company that's been able to recreate it so it could be stabilized enough to be shipped and delivered to your home so that you can consume it in a bottle. And again, we're turning on and off the right genetic expression in the body through that signaling, little proteins that need to be turned on and off at the right time. As we're exposed to sprays on our food, environmental toxins, mold in the wall, mental stress, maybe physical stress, maybe accidents, maybe genetics, our bodies start to break down. And we're not able to keep up with all of the house cleaning that needs to be done in our body. We're not able to turn all of those genetic expressions on and off in the right patterns. And our body tends to, for lack of better words, get lazy. So when we can increase the amount of redox in the body, we could start those processes over and over again with something that is 100% safe, no toxicity, no interactions with medicine, and that is native to the body. So what's in this blue bottle? Well, it's not a vitamin, a mineral, an antioxidant, a juice, an oil, a CBD. All of those things can be great. What is in there are these redox signaling molecules, and we make a lot when we're young, and every 10 years we're making 10% less. But if we are exposed to more of those environmental toxins, stress, genetics, some of us are losing even more, and we need to replace it. And although a lot of these other things that I just mentioned can be great for the outside of the cell, for the integrity of the outside of the cell so that it doesn't leak out as quickly, nothing else will actually refill your cells with its own intercellular fluid. So as your cells begin to become depleted over time and dead and dehydrated, how do we get it to look like that beautiful cell did when we were nice and young again? Well, we do it with the ASEA redox that we can drink. And it took them 5 years to create that drink into a gel. So what is it? It's made from salt and water. If you were to look at the ingredients, it would say water and sodium chloride. So they take the cleanest water, they reverse osmosis it, they filter it through a couple of times, they take all of the minerals out of the salt so that they're left with exactly what they need. And they take those atoms apart. And when they put it back together, it looks like the intercellular fluid that we already have in our cells. And that's exactly what it is. How do we know? We use so many of these beautiful companies below to do third-party testing for us. Now, you may not have heard of them, but they choose the best of the best. A lot of them are not in North America because non-toxicity testing is a lot better in Europe. They have a lot stronger rules. So look at the first one over there, Tourette Laboratories. A lot of you may not have heard of Tourette Laboratories, and that's okay, but have you heard of Ancestry.com? Ancestry.com uses Tourette Laboratories for a lot of the work that they do together and they do for everybody else. So we're using companies that are, although you might not have heard of them, they are quite well known and have very good reputations in their industries. And this study that was done, the first study that was done with Tourette Laboratories, was a gene expression study. And they put people on the redox, drinking 8 ounces a day for 8 weeks. And they wanted to see what happened with the hormone system, the immune system, the inflammatory response, cardiovascular health, and digestion. And what they saw was a 21 to 31 increase in all of those areas. And all of that was positive. It wasn't increasing past the balance, it was bringing it all to balance. So it positively impacted those areas. How many of you know at least one person who's suffering in one of those areas? You could probably find at least one person that's suffering in each of those areas. So that was absolutely huge. And then what they found is that some of these areas actually brought us into 15 other pathways, which is quite exceptional. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I just wanted to go through because we do have a Facebook group, and I'll talk about that in a bit soon. But there's real people, real everyday people in there. And the immune system, if you look there, you'll see Peter. Peter was suffering with a stage 4 disease that was eating away at his body. He needed a transplant. He was the oldest one in his group, in the group of people that he knew going through the same problems at that time. And he was the only one taking the redox. He was the only one who wasn't nauseous and really low energy going through his therapy. He was allowed to leave to go see his child get married. And he was also one of the only ones who was able to get the transplant. And he was given only 2 years. And now he is more than 5 years past his post-operation with a clean bill of health, nothing poisonous growing inside his body, and doing absolutely well. Sierra, inflammatory response. She's a massage therapist. She does derby. She's been a dancer her whole life. So her body is really, lots of inflammation in the wrists, in the ankles, and being able to use the ASEA, which goes in non-targeted to deal with to help empower the body to deal with inflammation and balance itself, but also use the Renew 28 to be able to target those areas like her wrists and like her ankles to bring down the inflammation and to empower the body to really create a lot less discomfort. We have Anna up in the hormone section, who over time was able to come off of her thyroid medication. Please work with your doctor to always come off of medications. And we have Mariana under digestion, and she's actually a cardiac nurse. So some people, this makes sense to them completely. Some people, it doesn't, but to her, it did. And when she got on it, she was having such bad issues with a chronic digestion issue where every red light she would have to think about if she needed to go to the bathroom before the red light, where would she stop to go to the bathroom? And she was taking medications that was affecting her joints. So her quality of life was really, really awful. So being able to address her digestion with the redox was huge for her, and she's thriving now. And in the cardiovascular health, we have Dr. Philip, and Dr. Philip's diet was horrible. He had a hectic long hours in the ER. He was barely able to exercise. And when his wife brought him this, he was skeptical. So he wanted to change nothing else but take the redox. So he started in March, and he took a blood test in March, and then again in July. March, April, May, June, July. That's 4 months. His total cholesterol went from 182 to 121. His good cholesterol, his HDL, went from 41 to 44, which is great. His LDL went from 101 to 61. That's the bad cholesterol. Wow, huge difference. After taking the supplements for a little bit of time, about 4 weeks, he realized that he was more flexible, he was more alert, his joints weren't having as many issues as it was, and he was completely amazed by the results. He said in private practice, he would be ecstatic for a patient taking statins drugs to get these results. So that is huge, right? But that's a story of one. There was also a 12-week study that was done with women looking at oxidative stress. And what they saw was that the LDL, the bad cholesterol, really significantly went down. And the same happened with the serum cholesterol as well. And there were some changes in the control group, but nowhere near the same. So it was a 6.3 drop in the redox group, where there was only a 0.9% drop in the placebo group. So that is a huge, huge difference. And think about cardiovascular health and how that is the #1 killer in the world right now. So earlier on, I talked about how looking at some of these genetic pathways opened up other genetic pathways. So it opened up we were able to see how it was affecting the EGR1. And you could look here and you could see ovarian health, thyroid health, insulin signaling, spinal cord, lots of different things going on in there. And one of those areas was the NFR2. The NFR2, I hadn't heard about it a while ago either, so don't worry about it, but it is the body's ability to produce glutathione, which is our master antioxidant. We've heard of antioxidants. We know to eat our greens, we know to eat our blueberries, but if we're eating them and our body's not absorbing them or utilizing them, then what? So actually, we're able to utilize the glutathione in our body up to 800% more when we are supplementing with extra redox in the body, which is absolutely staggering. So lately, a lot of universities and institutions have caught on to what is happening here at ASEA Redox. And we have the Rocky Mountain University of USA, we have Utah State University, we have the University of California, Berkeley. We have University of Valencia, Spain, University of Western Sydney, Australia, University in Singapore. I can go on. You could read the page yourself. All of these universities are now reaching out to ASEA, wanting to partner with them and wanting to do research that is going to be published in journals. So they've started off with two of those universities. One was the University of Bath in the UK, and one was Western Sydney University in Australia. And what they did is one of them looked at the blue bottle and one of them looked at the gel. The gel is exactly the same as what's in the blue bottle, just 2 extra ingredients to create a gel where we could target the area. And what they saw is by following that NFR2, what they saw is that not only is the body utilizing its glutathione up to 800% more and bringing down inflammation and oxidative stress in the body, but you were actually producing 40% more of the glutathione or the major antioxidants in the body, 40% more, both with the Renew 28 and the ASEA. And then what they saw is the cells that are actually damaged are creating 60% more of that glutathione, 60% more of that glutathione, which means that cells that are damaged are able to work even harder to repair themselves. So that when we're duplicating our cells, we could be duplicating good repaired cells as opposed to damaged and dehydrated cells. And think about the impact there on your body. The study at Western Sydney, Australia, glutathione in the skin cells increased 160% in the redox group, which is absolutely amazing. So the word glutathione, we know that that's an antioxidant, but what exactly is antioxidants doing in the body? Well, here are some of the diseases that are associated with low glutathione in the body, right? Take a look at that. We have neurological disorders, immune disorders, cardiovascular disorders, thyroid, pancreatic, and gut disorders, inflammatory disorders. Think about how improved your health would be if your body was not only creating more glutathione, but actually using it as well. So we've also seen a huge huge impact on athletes. And Dr. Neiman at the North Carolina Institute of the Appalachian Study University, he saw that a study done with the mice showed that the mice wanted to run 29% further till exhaustion. And then they recovered well and wanted to get back on and run again sooner. So they started to look at, why is this happening? And it was happening because there was a significant shift in 43 metabolites. That means that the body became more efficient at burning energy, preserving proteins, preserving amino acids, and increasing the vitamin C levels better during exercise. So it was able to utilize the nutrients and store more nutrients as we exercise when we're taking the redox. There was a 12% increase in VO2 max, and that's our aerobic fitness, our cardiovascular, our ability to breathe better and use oxygen better. We're burning ATP 6 to 8% more effectively. That means that we're burning our energy slower. So it's like having a more efficient car that saves gas instead of guzzles the gas. You can go further and faster, as well as 30% increase of the sparing glycogen. We have less lactic acid buildup, and it is WADA certified. That means that the World Anti-Doping Agency says there is no banned substances in there. It is non-toxic, and the Olympics has even given its approval. It's a very short list of what Olympic athletes can use. So we saw the mice there. So what happens if you give it to animals? Well, this is my cat Obi here on the right side, and Obi had continuously got these paw infections, also had a swollen eye one day, and he was rubbing at his ear a lot, and I gave him some of the redox to drink, and I would rub some of the gel where he was having his problems, and right away all of those problems would go away. And this little dog over here, Shy was 16 years old when he started using when she started using redox, and she was told that she needed to be either carried around or in a little stroller or wheelchair, that she really could not walk anymore, and she was coming close to the end of her life, and her owner wanted her to have a happy end of her life. So when we put her on the redox, she started running up and down the hallway again like a new puppy, jumping out the door. And she really did have an amazing, amazing last year of her life. So, you know, we cannot live forever, but we can make a difference in our quality of life. So longevity, yes. Quality of life, yes. So the Renew 28, as I talked about before, it's that same redox I've been talking about all along, just with 2 extra ingredients in there. And our skin is an organ as well. So we see a 21% reduction in wrinkle depth. We see overall wrinkles go away, elasticity, texture, smoothness, skin moisture, the appearance of cellulite. We see all of that getting better. So people are going to start telling you, you look better, you look younger, it's preservative-free, hypoallergenic, it does not clog pores, it's paraben-free, just shake and apply. Here's Rosie. It's gonna look like I put Rosie's pictures backwards, but I absolutely did not. She drank 8 ounces of the ASEA every day. She put the Renew 28 on her face every single day, and she went from chronological age 84 to 90, but it looks as if she went from 90 to 84. Here's some other areas where we can use Renew 28 on the skin. I had bad cystic acne my whole life, which left me with scarring and discoloration. So by using the Renew 28, by using the intensive serum, all of that scarring went away. All of the discoloration has gone away. Wrinkles even changed in my face. I'm 45 now and feeling great. And I'd like to say that my skin is not the skin of a 45-year-old. Whether it's a chronic condition that keeps coming back, whether it's an inflammatory condition, whether it's a condition from rogue cells growing in the body, there is an application for the redox. This woman in the middle was putting the Renew 28 for discomfort on the bottom of her foot. And then as she would stop doing that, she would rub the leftover gel only on her left hand, and you could see a huge difference in the quality of skin, in the color on her left hand versus her right hand. So she noticed a difference, and then she had to go and even it out. But I just mentioned that she was rubbing it on the bottom of her foot. Why was she doing that? 9 out of 10 people that rub the Renew 28 3 times in 5 minutes on an area of the body that's experiencing a lot of discomfort or extreme discomfort is going to find that they're going to have more range of motion, less inflammation. They're going to have less discomfort. In fact, some people have no discomfort at all after that. So we rub that on 3 times in 5 minutes, and the person who's showing you about redox can definitely help you learn how to do that. I've taken down swelling of my son's broken ankle with the redox, hand burns, increased blood flow and vein improvement. And the woman here on the bottom left had surgery, 6-inch scars on both sides. She decided to put the redox only on one side and not the other side. And you could see a difference in the scarring, but also by drinking the redox, her physiotherapist said that she had more improvement in the 3 months on the redox than she had the 6 months before. And it was much more than they'd seen anybody else have. And they were extremely impressed. We see differences in hair growth, both men and women for various reasons, gum and teeth and bone recalcification, and gums growing back. And it's really helping to improve people's lives. This woman in the middle, her and her husband, because stress was down, she was able to communicate with him more, spend time with him more, leave the house without feeling really, really sad and crying. And the impact it had on her little girls, because her hormones and her mental health stabilized, her family had a much different experience moving forward. We do have a Facebook group, as I mentioned. It's called Canadians Fueled by ASEA. Somebody can add you to that group, so please ask them to do so, where you could see real life people who are sharing their stories there. And I'd like to have 2 people share their stories with us today. David, are you able to please come off mute and share a little bit about how the ASEA redox helped you?
Yes, I'd be glad to. I started my journey with ASEA about 5 years ago, just before my 70th birthday. And I started because I had a high PSA count after a blood test. Uh, the doctors told me to get a biopsy. I didn't want a biopsy. I wanted a natural way to correct the problem. So I went to an integrative physician, and that's where he mentioned ASEA. I trusted him, so I just started to use the standard dosage of ASEA. And several months later, I had another test, and it turned out to be the count went way down to normal levels. And also the following year, it went down again. So the people, my original doctors, were pleased with that, and they decided I was good to go. But the surprising thing about ASEA was that it gave me so much energy. I was an avid hiker at the time, and I was able to hike faster and longer. And I just couldn't believe the difference after 2 weeks of using the standard dosage. So I used that to go on to other areas of exercising, high intensity interval training. And I was able to do twice as many intervals, 8 instead of 4. And I went longer, 30 seconds instead of 20 seconds. So that was really impressive to me. And I continued on my exercising to weightlifting and so forth. And I just noticed that I could work out more often during the week, 4 or 5 days rather than 2 or 3. And that my progress in the gym was much faster. I was able to improve my weightlifting quite a bit during one session. So so I was very pleased with that. So I decided, that it's a wonderful product, and I continue using it. And the amazing thing about me in my mid-70s is that I feel like I can perform better in my 70s than I ever could in my 50s and 60s. So.
Beautiful. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm glad that you didn't have to go through the whole process of what would the biopsy have found, what kind of surgeries would you have to go through, what kind of medications would you have to be on for life. So that is absolutely huge right then and there. The cost, the emotional stress, the time spent, but then being able to exercise and enjoy your retirement the way that you are, and continuing. I mean, I'm watching your videos, I see what you're doing. So continuing to increase your health and your abilities as you go and recover the way that you could recover is absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing, David. Lynette, are you able to share your story with us today?
Yes, ma'am. So starting about, 20 years ago, I was having inflammation pretty much all over my body, in my back, in my hip, and my hands. And it had gotten so bad that I actually couldn't even pull my leg into the car when I was, trying to get in. I would have to lift it up, pull it in, and the pain was pretty much constant all the time. And so I thought, what does it hurt? So I decided to try ASEA. And after just a couple of weeks, I could see a huge difference in my sleep, first of all, because I had not been able to sleep because of all the issues that I was having. So I was able to sleep all night, which hadn't done that for a very long time. And in addition to that, I just decided that it's doing something. I need to continue with this. I'm not sure what's going to happen to my body, but I'm not giving up yet. So after just a few months, I noticed I was starting to have less and less pain. One day I was walking through the house and the light bulb went off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can walk. I have no pain, especially in my hip. That was the big one. So now I've been able to go on walks with my daughter, and she's like, Mom, I can't believe you can actually be able to walk, and you're not having to stop and stretch, every few steps. So that's been a huge plus for me, starting to be able to garden and really just be active, be able to play with my grandson and do the things that I couldn't even do when I was 20 years younger. So Sia's really made a life-changing difference for me.
Well, I'm so, so happy. And as we think about moving forward in our life, we don't want to think about doing less. We want to think about doing more and more things that are meaningful to us, and to think about having to lift your leg to get into the car every single time. I don't want to think where you would be today without it. So I'm so glad for you as well. I'm going to just put out the statement now that Sia Redox does not and cannot claim to prevent or reverse any disease. But what's happening is when we are putting more of our native redox into the body, we are empowering the body to heal itself. We are empowering the body to find balance itself. And just think about that and how impactful that can be on your life for just one moment. So as we go back to our presentation, we can see other people here. Justina, who didn't have anything awful going on in her life, but wanted to just stay as healthy as possible, being a personal trainer and having kinesiology in university, understanding that anything that will improve the communication in the body is huge. So she is using the redox. She found her gums are improving. Her energy is great. Her skin is evening out. And Karen, who had an autoimmune disease as well, and really was able to get her hands back, which was huge for her. The ability to do calligraphy again and knit again has been huge. So remembering what I said at the beginning, those 30 to 90, those 30, 60, 90, 120 days, we do see 90% of people getting results in 90 days. So I can't tell you if it's going to be 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, maybe even closer to 4 months. But what we know is whether we could feel it or not, the redox goes to work in the body right away. The body knows exactly what to do with it. These are tiny little molecules that get absorbed directly into the cell. They cascade through the body, turning our genes on and off the way that they're supposed to, creating balance the way that it's supposed to, and create resilience. So when Lynette woke up one day and couldn't get her leg into the car, that didn't happen overnight. There were things happening behind the scenes that she couldn't feel or see until that one day where she first had to help her leg up into the car. So the same thing is going to happen in reverse. Lots of good things are going to start to happen behind. Our bodies are doors, not windows. So a lot of things are going to happen behind the door until we could see it through the window. And getting a blood test at the beginning, and again, 4 months later, for some people has been so impactful because it has meant that they are able to work with their doctors to reduce or sometimes even come off of medications. We do have other products here. We have some great nutraceuticals, like a probiotic, a whole food micronutrient supplement that's kind of like taking your vitamin. We have a Life Max, which is a lifestyle vitality, anti-inflammatory, major discomfort kind of mixture. We have an omega. We have a beautiful face care line that has been tested and got 5 stars by Dermatest in Germany, where it is not just helping to clean your skin, but it's actually nourishing your skin. Mixing that with the Renew 28, even better results, and our new clay mask, which is absolutely incredible. It is the only bentonite clay mask in the world, or clay mask in the world, that has the technology of the redox in there. As we are stripping away the dirt, and if the dirt is being pulled out like a magnet, that creates some kind of inflammation, and the redox being in there helps zap that inflammation on contact. My face always looks so different when I use it. We also have, for certain systems, for energy, for mind and focus, for mood, some little stabilizers there, but also our plant-based collagen has been huge for people with skin, hair, and nails, for some people with inflammation as well. And instead of consuming the ickiest parts of the animals and having to use so much of our energy system to break it down, we're given those plant-based peptides and amino acids from the beginning so that our body can skip those beginning stages and get to work right away. And I have even seen results in just 2 weeks. So I encourage everybody when I'm done to go to discoverredox.com. You could check along the different areas there to find out more about some of the things I've been talking about today. But if you click on the ASEA Global link right there on the right-hand side, you're going to learn about the genesis of the company and who the people are behind this company. Their intention was to support this biotech company, create the redox that's stabilized, and sell it to the pharmaceutical company. And when they got their deal, within just 3 hours of that pharmaceutical company coming in, it was a lot bigger than they thought it was going to be. And they had already had 140 people with life-changing stories using the product. But the pharmaceutical company said that those people needed to stop and nobody else would ever see the products again. And in that moment, they needed to make a decision. The founders needed to make a decision. What do? Do they sell out and take the money for generational wealth, or do they help the people? And they decided to stand for the people. And then they worked with other experts to say, look at the stories that have happened with these 140 people. How do we get the product out to as many people as possible moving forward so that other people can have this experience too? And that's when they realized that word of mouth was the most powerful thing. Lynette sharing her story, David sharing his story, and me sharing my story, and other people wanting to improve their health in multiple areas as well. That's how this product was going to do best. And that is what they chose to do. And because of that, you've been blessed with somebody sharing the product with you today. I do hope that hearing our stories today, hearing how safe the product is and how many people's lives have been impacted has really helped you to understand more and make a decision on whether this is something that could be part of your story, whether you know somebody that needs this because their life will never be the same, or whether you can see yourself having such great results and getting the joy and the goosebumps of helping other people with it as well, or just knowing about it and knowing that I know that this exists. And if I ever know somebody whose life really needs to be changed, I know where to tell them to go. So wherever you're at, my absolute gratitude for you for being here today, for listening, and I do wish you a wonderful day.